What's up, everybody? Welcome to another video. This week I'm working on a Peterbilt. I've got a decent week ahead of me. I'm gonna go over exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna try and cut down on the talking because there's a lot to do this week. But yeah, this is gonna be a 5-day project, and here we go. So starting off, this truck is going to get a full wash and wax. This is what the frame and everything looks like after I have let it thaw in my shop overnight. Lots of dirt and grime, usual. All of the aluminum is going to be getting a full sand and cut and color. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't feel too bad either. Should shine up pretty decent. Still sand quite a bit, which I'll go over later. All of the drive wheels will be pulled off the truck, just so I can get in here along where the lugs go. I can get that all nice and smooth, consistent with the rest of the wheel. And then they'll be put back on and retorqued. Tanks, full sand and cut and color as well. As you can see though, see these lines? See those like lines coming across? Kind of like a weird pattern. Someone's been here before, and I hope that doesn't give me any issues when it comes to actually doing it, because sometimes those will show up after, even though you've sanded really heavy. So we'll see, we'll keep an eye on that. I'll go over that later too. Wash and wax should clean up all the dirt and grime that's on the body, on the cab and everything. Stainless, I'm just gonna go over stacks, shine them up too. Steps come off, and it's getting a full interior detail as well. Bump up the ISO. It's actually in pretty decent shape. I'm gonna go over it with my light and we'll kind of be able to see a lot more, but it'll be getting a full interior detail as well. And then, let's back that off. Now, and then I guess the stainless on the breathers is going to be getting a polish. I'll be doing that with the machine. Mirrors and everything I'll be getting by hand. Steers will be getting a full sand and polish. Grill, all the headlight housings up in here, up on the face of the grill, that all getting polished. This bumper will be done by hand. And it's the same story on this side. So, yeah, I guess the box over here, which I'll show as well, because there's a lot to talk about. The stainless, I'm gonna try and get out as much grain in the stainless depth tank as I can. And same story on this side. You can see the lines, someone's been here. We'll see what's up with that later on. Steps will be coming off, take it apart. Each part will be sanded and polished. And yeah, I have to break this kind of job into days. You gotta be strategic with how you get it done, otherwise you'll end up just backtracking and losing time. So today, which is the first day, I'm gonna be doing a full interior detail on that, and I'll show you that. And then I will probably be prepping it by taking off drive wheels, taking steps off, taking any pieces of the steps apart, and just getting it ready for sanding tomorrow. I'm not gonna try and get dirty today, but if I have to, so be it. But yeah, so that's that. Let's go. All right, so let's go over the interior before I get started on it. All the vents, all this dust on all the switches, gauges around the dash, all that'll be taken care of, properly removed and safely removed without damaging or getting anything in any of these gauges or sensitive areas. Dash, pretty dusty, nothing too serious. And then for the carpets, they are looking, let's just brighten that up. Mats won't be a big issue. That's pretty straightforward to clean. All the carpets will be getting steam cleaned, vacuumed pretty good. This is a pretty good shape actually. Like, generally I don't do truck interiors and semi-interiors unless the customer is opting to get all the aluminum and everything polished, because it's just, usually they're pretty grungy. But not the case on this one, so pretty decent. Yeah, seats steam cleaned, conditioned with griots, leather care spray like everything else is. So I treat this like a car or truck. It's gonna get the same treatment as a vehicle. So let's get started and just kind of get it knocked out. Interior has been cleaned. There's still some stuff that needs to be tidied up before I dress it, but it's looking quite a bit better. Carpets still need to be vacuumed again. So yeah, carpet still need to be vacuumed. Seats have been cleaned, all the plastics. This is actually kind of a small cab since it's just got the small bunk on the back, and everything is still in good shape. This truck's only got like 78,000 K on it, so in and around here, that's pretty minimal. But yeah, so I'll dress it, tidy it up, final vacuum it, and then from there, it's all onto the exterior. So kind of gives you an idea how things look before it gets dressed. So as that's going along, like putting on the dressing on all the plastics and kind of leveling things off and putting finishing touches on it, I came across this. So you can see all the like hazy, oh, it's hard to focus, so catch my finger, but the hazy on like the wood grain, I can't tell if those are from me, the like scratches and like the kind of haziness, or if they were from before being wiped improperly with it all being all dusty and whatnot. Either way, they're really visible when you put in some pretty powerful LED lights in here, which in the real world, it's not like you're gonna be driving around with some industrial grade work light in your cab here, but I can see them. They're there, doesn't mean that they're gonna go away if the light's not there. So I'm gonna go and grab some polish, and I'm gonna hand polish all like the wood in between and around all these gauges. I want it to look the way it should. This truck has low K. In case the light does happen to come into the cabin this way later on, I don't want the owner to go, oh, what the hell happened to my dash? This is one of those things that kind of goes above and beyond. Compressor just kicked in. But either way, I'll show some after shots and I'll kind of compare to what it looks like now. So okay, so that's the before. That's the little test spot. That's the after. Yeah, okay, there's still a ton of scratches. I'm not gonna go super aggressive, but look at the difference between this kind of, oh, come on, the hazy kind of scratchy surface, and this is a lot clearer. So that's what I'm gonna do for the rest of the dash here. I'll show you what I'm using. I am using McGuire's plastics. It's just a really fine polish. I like to use it on gauge clusters, like the plastic that goes over your gauge cluster, because that tends to really get scratched up. So this is just gonna be a light hand polish. Wish I could do it with machine, but there's way too many little areas. Like this is just the width of my finger, so I'll just get in here with my hand and a rag and clear it up. So okay, so this side has been hand polished. It might not come across on video, but it's definitely a lot glossier than it was. It's a lot more consistent too. So around these gauges, like on the edges of them, there was like kind of like this crud kind of built up around them. It wouldn't come off with my APC and the brush, so I can get it off with this plastic actually. So it really cleared up all that. And I started doing the gauges too. So these gauges have all been hand polished. These ones have not. So let's see if I can kind of show it. So you can see this gauge has like a lot of stuff. I'll just call it stuff stuck around the edges. You can kind of see it on there. So what I'm doing is polishing all of that away so that it's clear from one side to the other, right around. It's a little tiny thing, but, and honestly, like the owner might not even notice I did this, but just because they don't notice it doesn't mean it makes a difference in the outcome, I should say. So this might be the reason why I'll never be successful as a metal polisher or truck polisher, because I get distracted or like get caught up in these tiny little details. But you know what? I'd rather get it done and know that it was done than leave it and hope that the customer doesn't complain about it later. So I'll finish up with these gauges, finish the vacuum, and then the interior's done. Oh, and I also might hit this with some metal polish just because there's a little bit of stuff stuck on there that is annoying me. So yeah, I'll get it wrapped up and carry on. Interior is now complete. I will do the glass when I do the exterior glass, just I'll do it all in one shot. Carpet steam clean, seats cleaning condition. Dash is taken care of. That's properly dressed. And it's all been done with Geon Preserve, like I did in the last video with that Dodge Ram. It's all dry to the touch. Everything's dry to the touch. Bump this up, see if we can get the carpet in there. So yeah, carpets are all nice and clean. Like they said, this truck isn't old, so it's not like it's seen a ton of abuse. And yeah, I'll carry on to the next stage, which will be pulling off the drive wheels. So that should be fun. Alright, so the next step in the process here for today is to remove the drive wheels. I'm lucky I get to use this 1-inch big impact from the guy who rents the space beside me. So now I've just recently took off all of the lug caps. I'm gonna leave the top hats on. I'll put some tape around it so I don't damage them on the way out with the wheels. But yeah, cut to a time lapse now. Hopefully this all works out. Here's a perfect example of why I sometimes wish I had someone around the shop or an employee give me a hand. So I can't get this drive off because it's hitting on this fender just enough, and I don't have a third arm to hold the fender up to clear the tire. So these are gonna have to stay on for a little bit until I can have somebody else give me a hand. But I'll move on to taking off the step and the other side box and just whatever else needs to be taken apart, so I can kind of get some stuff ready to go for tomorrow to be prepped. So oh well. So I ran into another little bump in the road. I was planning on taking this whole box off so I could just get it nice and consistent to in between here, because I cannot get a buff, an airway buff in there, or any method of polishing really by hand, and I really wanted to make that look good. Plus I wanted to be able to do the front of this tank pretty nicely too, because this edge, the fact that it sticks out a little bit, makes it really hard to get in on here as much as I can. So fortunately I can't, because all of these bolts that are on here, which are part of the step itself, also are mounted to all of the emissions like equipment that's underneath this box. All the rivets that are on it too, I can't get those off, so this box has to stay on, which is unfortunate. But at least I could take off the step so I can get this diamond plate nice and smooth or consistent to the bottom, and then I can cut this all the way to the very edge nice and smooth too. Plus having this up, like this part off right here, oh, my camera won't zoom for some reason, so that's pretty cool. There we go. Having them off allows me, I'll take these bolts out obviously, but I'll be able to sand all of this and cut this, so when I put this piece back on, it's nice and like consistent. There's no missed spots along the top of it or anything like that. So it's the same way on the front, but yeah, just whatever. This is the way it goes. I guess each truck's different, so this truck's a different year, about 4 years younger than the other one I did, so kind of makes sense, but oh well. So pulled off battery box from the driver's side. This is a step from the box on the passenger side. And then here is a step that goes over top, like kind of like this, over top of the tanks. In the one tank I should say on the driver's side. I've taken it apart so I can polish all the sides of it nice and smoothly, and then I can put it back together and it looks all like nice and flawless. But for today, I think that's the end of day one. Tomorrow I should start on the sanding side of things. I'll have to get those wheels off tomorrow probably then, unless I can find someone tonight to come give me a hand, but tomorrow I'll probably get them off. Not a big deal. So I've got a lot of sanding to do, so yeah. And also, this DEF tank, the DEF fluid is still frozen. Would you look at that? But yeah, that's the end of day one. Day two tomorrow, and then day three, and then day four, and then probably day five. So alrighty. Here it is. I'm at the shop now. Ran my errands I needed to this morning. It's about 9 AM and I'm gonna get started sanding on this truck today. So sand all the tanks, sand any part of the steps I can sand the steer wheels, just get the boxes prepped. Everything's got to be prepped today, so tomorrow I can start actually cutting it. So just finished prepping this side here. This tank is fully sanded. So the reason I sand is to get the surface as flat as I possibly can, because the flatter the surface, the sharper the reflections will be. If you look in a mirror, you see it's super crisp. Why? Because the mirror is 100% flat, the glass is flat. If you can mimic that surface with the aluminum, when you go to polish it, it becomes way clearer. Plus, if you try and cut with a buff over top of an unpolished surface, you leave the lines, and those lines that were in there were probably because somebody tried to polish this without sanding or prepping it first. So this has been sanded rotary with 320, 400, and then 600 grit. And this is the final finish. So as you can see, if you like look at it, like there's a reflection in it. There's a reflection in it already. And that's just with sanding. Like, if this is what the finished product should look like. It kind of looks like it's all messy, just because it's been polished with, and sanded with a rotary polisher. If it's sanded with a dual action, it'd look a lot different. This is what it would look like. This little spot here, here, and then on here, and around the fuel cap. That's been done with a dual action, and which is a totally different style of polisher and slash sander. But I just like doing it with the rotary. It's faster, and I found that I can cut out the rotary marks a lot easier than a dual action. So I sanded as much as I could around here because I can only go so far in with the buff. I don't need to sand this tank, the def tank. Luckily, this generation of Peterbilt, the stainless on the tank and the tank straps actually has minimal grain in it. I can get away without having to really sand that stuff too much. This box here, I sanded both sides of this. I sanded along here. The front edge here is all nice and flat now because this usually gets pretty chipped up. This has been sanded here, and same with this side here. So I sanded these with 400 and then 600, and I used this Jimmy Raid contraption. I got this idea from a guy off of Instagram who's a metal polisher in the Southern Ontario region. So it's the shaft off of a mother's power ball, so I can connect it to my drill, which is on the ground there. Run into a paint cap off of a spray paint can, there we go. And then I put in a nut and a bolt through it so it can mount to this shaft. And then I use some red Scotch-Brite, or it's like a scuff pad, and then I use some good old Saskatchewan chrome to mount it to the paint cap, and it fits around these lugs here. And then I spin it with the drill, and it preps in between the lugs, because usually this is pretty beat up, and if you don't take the wheel off, you can't really get in there with the sander. So, all right, so it's almost 3 o'clock now. I've been going hard. I didn't even take a lunch. I got the grill prepped, so I did it with 320 and then 400 on my little 3-inch DA, and then I went back over with 600 on my rotary to kind of get rid of the DA marks. I find myself it's easier to get rotary marks out with when you use an interface pad. Here, I'll show you. So I use this foam interface pad off the backing plate, and then the sanding disc goes on top of this. It just offers like a bit of contour, and because with a rotary, if you had a straight backing plate and then a sanding disc on it, and you went at an angle, you would just gouge this paint, the surface of the aluminum so badly. So the interface pad allows it to lay flat like the sanding paper, and it gives a lot more consistent cut on the aluminum. So I find it much easier to cut out with a cutting disc. I did all the front of it. I did the front of these guys, and then I prepped all of this stuff that can be prepped. So both sides of the box here, you can see this reflection already, and that hasn't even been polished, that's just sanding. So both sides of the box, on the other side too, and then the front of this guy has been sanded on this step, this side, and then the insides have been sanded as well. Just brighten it up. And then I also sanded the front part here, so that when I cut that and it sits on the step back on the truck, it's nice and shiny. On the steps here, both sides have been sanded, and then these plates that hold onto those steps, both sides of them have been sanded as well. So this side had to get 180 with a rotary, which I don't like doing, but I had to do it on that one. And then the bracket piece that holds everything together, I sanded that guy with 400 and 600 of the DA. Well, it is almost 20 after 8, and I just finished prepping this side. Sanded on there. And I underestimated how big this tank is. I mean, I obviously saw it. I didn't realize how much surface area there was. I didn't realize that this end is bigger than on that side, and then the middle section is quite a bit bigger. So got that sanded, and then I also had to make my 2-minute Tuesday, which seemed to take quite a bit of time. I always struggle with getting them successfully in one take without stumbling on my words, but yeah, I don't know, that's it for today. I'll get those wheels off and prepped and cut, no big deal on either tomorrow or Thursday. It's not a big deal. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get everything that I prepped today cut. Hopefully, that's the end goal. It doesn't have to be finished, but it has to be cut. So we'll see how that goes, and I think that's home time for today. I'm pretty freaking tired, so long day, almost a 12-hour day, but no big deal. See you guys tomorrow. All right, day 2. Day 3. So I got a late start this morning. Car wouldn't start, -40 without the wind. And I'm here, and I'm gonna get started on this tank. But first off, I want to talk about what you wear when you polish aluminum. My mouth is a bit muffled because of this. So I have a bunch of different layers on. I have a like head sock, I guess you could call it, to cover my hair. A layered bandana around my mouth. Another bandana over my hair. And then another bandana on my neck here. And all these are worn underneath a full face respirator. This right here is the most important thing when it comes to polishing aluminum. Aluminum particles are extremely harmful, I can't even talk, harmful for your lungs. And having a full face respirator will protect your face from getting hit with this thing. And I've been hit in the face with this thing before. Luckily I was wearing my mask. If I wasn't, I would have had some pretty ugly scars. This thing will kick back if you're not paying attention, and it'll hit you in the face, and it doesn't feel good, even with a mask on. So yeah, particulate filters and gloves. I wear nitrile gloves that have and then I wear these like thin stealth gloves underneath, and then anti-vibration gloves, because the vibrations from the polisher kill your hands. My hands vibrate and they feel tingly almost 24/7, and I'm only 24 years old. So, excuse me, that's not cool. So yeah, safety first when it comes to polishing aluminum. It's actually a pretty dangerous job, but if you're paying attention, it doesn't have to be. I'm also wearing coveralls with a long sleeve shirt on top of a t-shirt underneath this to keep the dirt and I'll show you later what my face will look like and you'll understand, but you end up being black by the end of the day. So I'm gonna get started on this tank. I'm gonna cut myself away, cut around this truck, and just, yeah, hopefully I don't run into any issues. Well, a couple hours later, and I have this tank cut, and I cut a little bit on this box here, which I'll show, but this is just the first cut. So what you're looking for in the first cut is clarity, as much as you can, because the more clear it is on the first step, the easier it'll be and more clear it'll be on the second steps, or the following. So these lines, won't focus, there we go. So those little like lines going up and down, those are from the actual wheel itself that you use to cut all the sanding marks with. That guy right there on my machine, right there. So it leaves these fine like scratches, which isn't a big deal, because the next steps will dull them and make them a lot more uniform, and it'll just make, that's what's kind of hiding the clarity right now. So if you can get rid of those lines, then the clarity will pop like crazy. So I try and polish as far up on the top of the tank as I can with the machine safely, because usually you've got wires and lights hanging in here. It's kind of dangerous, especially when it's spinning at 3,000 RPM. So I get as high as I can on there, and then I go as low as I possibly can on here. So I try and get to the halfway mark. Maybe sometimes I'll go a little bit over, just so that you can't see the edge of where I finished. And then on this end cap, everything is like crazy reflective. That's just the first cut. I don't have any lines, which is perfect. So when I go to finish it, it'll be really reflective. And on this one, I cut out the sanding marks on here. That's aluminum. That's not chrome, it's not a mirror. That's metal. Pretty clear if I do say myself. So that's what sanding does. It makes it really crisp, all the reflections. So I also cut kind of in here with as much as I could get, and I rounded off the edge of this tank too. I'm gonna go back later and I'm gonna blend as far in as I can on each of these, just so it's not a really definite cutoff line. And then I polished this guy as well. So it's hard to really tell what you're looking at. This is all a reflection of everything that's on this side here. So these lines, you can kind of see them there. Those are from the buffer as well. They're kind of cut lines. Like I said earlier, when I go back with the finishing steps, it'll blend them all. It'll be a lot more crisp, but for now, that's perfect. All you're really looking for in the first step is clarity, and that there's no sanding marks. It's just about 2 o'clock now, but I got all of the sanding cut out. I still got to do the sides and like up on the top where it reaches over, but the front facing here, front facing part of the grill has been cut. This is what it looks like. So I like to do these grills at this time of day when the sun is coming through the windows here, because it gives me a good indicator of if I'm getting the sanding marks out or not. So it won't focus because it's too shiny. There we go. So I got all the sanding marks out, or at least 99% of them. There's nothing left really. There's a lot of like buffer tracks and stuff from the cutting wheel, but can't be too upset about the clarity on this. So this was sanded 320, 400, and 600, and yeah, I'm gonna do the tops of the headlights here have lines, but that's okay. I'll take care of that later with the next step. But alright, little update. Finished off the grill here. I got the sides all polished up. That's just the cut stage. I still got to refine it with the finishing steps. I took the back sides off of the headlights there, and I polished them up amongst these pieces. These I polished them as well. Turned out pretty decent. And that's the headlights there. Like I said, this stuff is all just the first cut. There's still a lot of lines in it, but once I get to the finishing step, things will really start to come together. So it's about 5 o'clock now, and I've got somebody coming to give me a hand to pull these drives off, and then I can knock them out and get them back over there so I can put them on when I get a chance, but little by little. I don't really explain what I've been using to cut all these with. So generally, so far I've been using this like straight yellow airway buff. It's a primary cut, but it's just yellow. There's no orange. It's not a fast cut or a quick cut. Generally I like to use the quick cuts, but I didn't have any left, and all the ones I have are like super small now. They're all worn out. I'll use them on the diamond plate and stuff later, but that was my main primary cut that I've been using so far, and that's on a variable speed DeWalt polisher slash grinder. I have a 6,000 RPM in there, which I will be using on the drives, but I don't like to use it on anything else anymore because it's way too heavy and way too powerful. Thing is just out of control. I don't even know why I decided to buy that when I started polishing. That was my first polisher, and I've since bought about 6 or 7 more. So this is what I'm going to be switching to right now to do this steer. This is just a fast cut wheel from Zephyr. It's yellow and orange, primarily orange though. Well, mostly yellow, I guess I should say. I used to be a big fan of these. These are like my go-to primary cut wheels before, but I've since switched over to the quick cuts from Zephyr. I just find the quick cuts do a better job, and actually they have a better finish. Surprisingly, I don't even know how that makes any sense considering they're pretty much identical to these fast cuts. But I'm gonna switch over to my fast cut here for my primary cut on this steer wheel, because this wheel is worn out too much, and this distance here is only like maybe 1.5 inches, if that. So these lugs are about 1.5 inches as well. So the safety flange, the plastic piece in the middle there, will hit on these lugs every time I go in between them. So I'm gonna switch over to this bigger wheel, and it'll be able to cut in between these a lot more safely, I should say, and without having to worry about smashing my safety flanges on these lugs. So hopefully I can get this done. I've got it jacked up to spin it, so I don't have to bend over and do all the stuff down there. I can just keep my grinder up in one spot, and I can just do this, move on to the next spot, move over. Pretty straightforward. There's front of the box, pretty clear. I cut this part on the step, and then I also did the back side of it too. So that is all a reflection. That's just the first cut, nothing crazy. And then I did the first cut on this tank as well. I got the edge here kind of cut. I'll blend that later, but it came out pretty sweet. Still gotta do the straps and everything, but how's that for some clarity? Let me just bump with that so you can see everything. That is all a reflection. It definitely did not have that when I started. You can see the lines, those will all be blended. That's just what happens off the first cut. And then, yeah, not bad. Not gonna sugarcoat it. It's a pretty long day. This is what I look like. This is the life of polishing metal. It's a really exhausting job. This is not something I wouldn't recommend it to most people. You gotta be really devoted to the industry to be able to pull this off and succeed. And I'm not saying that as a brag. I'm saying this as this is a really tough job. Physically exhausting, mentally exhausting. Your long days, it's a really tough job, and it's hard to get it right too. So it's 9:30 p.m. on the third day here. I did make some decent progress. I'll show you what I got done here. So I sanded these two drives, 400 and 600. On the face, I guess you could call it, that was done with a dual action, like a palm sander. And then the lips were done with a rotary. So that's the way I like to do them. It's not really traditionally done like that, but I find that I get really good results doing it this way. It's kind of, I'll show you what they look like before. But yeah, I don't know, I've got quite a bit done today. Still a lot more to go. I still got to do all this and the random pieces on the ground. So yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna come back tomorrow and probably pull another 12 to 14 hour day to stay on track. Tomorrow I really want to get all of the polishing done. I need to have it all done so that on Friday morning I can wash the truck and get it all tidied up and put back together for 5 o'clock pickup around there on Friday. So yeah, this is no sugarcoating. I'm not gonna say this is an easy job, but it's not for everybody. So yeah, I'm gonna go home, get some rest, and I will be back tomorrow. Day 4. They don't know what day it is anymore. Day 4. It's about 8:30 a.m. I show up a little bit late because my mom's car starts to drive her. You can hear the wind blowing through the door. It's a cold one out there again. But I'm gonna put my mask on, and I hope that I don't end up having to take it off for another 4 hours. I'm gonna work right until 12:30 or so. Get this all done and just keep making progress. It's not gonna get done on its own. So I got the drives cut and colored. They're no pretty decent, I guess. That's it. I got the hang of doing them pretty good. But I want to show the mess this makes. So my shop right now is absolutely covered in this dust. It's just like a residue that comes off the wheels. But it's really, really bad when I use my 6,000 RPM. So I talked about my polisher I was using earlier, and this is the one. This guy right here was like the unit I was using to cut with earlier, but now I've just got this finishing wheel on it because when I do drives I cut them with this big unit. So this is a 6,000 RPM. It's like a 5 horsepower angle grinder pretty much, but you can mount buffing wheels to them. I don't recommend buying a 6,000 RPM. Use this one, buy 2 of them, one for cutting, one for coloring, just so you can have them both going at the same time. A lot more efficient. But this guy right here is very dangerous. I will be the first to admit. I've been hit in the face by this thing. It's knocked the wind out of me. If you're doing drives, which is probably the dumbest idea that I do have, or the dumbest thing I do when I'm polishing metal, if you're doing drives and you hook one of those like holes in there, this thing will just rip around and come right back at you, and it doesn't feel very good. So yeah, those are the 2 units I use to do these drives though. Don't recommend, but that's what I did. And yeah, I'm just gonna finish up. I'm gonna do final polish on that steer, cut and color that other steer because I need to use a jack to put these wheels back on, and I'll chuck these drives back on the studs and everything like that, get them kind of sitting there, and then yeah, and I'll probably go for lunch and then come back and get all this other crap done. All right, 20 after 12, made some decent progress this morning. I got this steer all final polished. I final polished the other steer, and then I got the drives back mounted on the truck. They just need to be retorqued to 500, which I will get a hand to do later because I'm not heavy enough actually to freaking torque them. So I need assistance. My ballasting is a little bit light and I'm not quite strong enough to get these torqued all the way up, but they turned out pretty good. They still need a final wipe down, which I'll do after I wash it because this thing is absolutely filthy now and it's covered in dust. So I'm gonna go. Cutting. It's almost 7:30 on day 4, 7:30 p.m. and yeah, everything has got the initial cut done. So I've just moved on to doing the final polishing steps. Everything turned out pretty decent, I'd say. Got these steps looking pretty good. These things are horrible. I hate them. They just absolutely eat through pads. And I got this step all pretty much done as well. Still has a lot, some final finishing stuff to do, like up in there, but I'd say it looks alright. Yeah, this is all dirty. This will get shined up with this final step here. I'll go over the flannel buff and take care of it. Everything I was cutting, I used either this was a 10-inch wheel. It's absolutely broken, or I mean not broken, just worn out right now. I was either using these Airway one-on-one fast cut wheels from Zephyr, or I was using their yellow wheel. And for these really destroyed steps, I was using a Blue Baron wheel, which I did destroy as well. I completely wore that one out. So yeah, those steps are brutal, but this next step will go way faster. I've got to just go over things quickly, and it'll hopefully be kind of relatively, like, maybe I'm gonna assume I'll finish this step around 9:30. So yeah, polishing is finally complete. It's 20 after 10. I've been here since just after 8. It's been a long day, but I wanted to get all the polishing done today, so that's what I did. Tank got colored and then final finished. Do I have my, where is it? There it is. So yeah, this is the smooth cut wheel I was talking about earlier. It's green in the middle and purple on the outside. I like to use this on tanks just as a third step. Lots of guys will argue that you don't need 3 steps, and I totally agree with them. I never used to do 3 steps, but I found that if I do a second step out of the 3 with this smooth cut wheel, it really just blends all my cutting marks, all the cutting hash marks, so that when I go to finish it, it like pops even more. Because if you just finish on top of like cut lines or cut marks, sometimes they don't come out or don't get blended very well, and it shows at the final product. So I get this clarity by doing, I think, that third step on my tanks. Everything else isn't, unless it's a moose bumper, I'll do them with 3 steps, but everything else is just 2 steps. So pretty good. I am here, I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like after a very, very long day at the shop polishing metal. I did take an extended lunch because my car battery was absolutely garbage and I had to go buy a new one. So I washed my face in there. So this is what a somewhat dirty face looks like. I'll show you my wrist. So I wear, that's not my skin color. That is all rouge and residue from polishing metal. I've got coveralls, long sleeves, and 3 pairs of gloves on, and I still get dirty. So yeah, I'm probably just rambling at this point because I'm overtired and really, really hungry. Didn't go for supper, but I'm glad I got it all done, and I can just kind of take it somewhat easy tomorrow, so check that out. It's aluminum. Nothing more, nothing less. 9 AM, Friday morning, last day. Gonna start things off by cleaning up my neighbor's space here, because I got dust everywhere. Kind of getting all the dust out the door, because and cleaning up too, because this place is a disaster. All this black dust is on everything. I'm gonna try and blow as much of it out the door as I can without it blowing back in. And then I'm gonna move on to washing, and hopefully I can get this thing all ready to go. So I picked up some 4/0 steel wool. It's got the 4 zeros there. This is the softest steel wool you can get, and I use this with some Vim or some metal polish on all the stainless. It doesn't scratch it, but it cleans off any of the bugs and dirt that's stuck on it. So I'll use that and when I'm washing, and yeah, I won't be able to do many time lapses, or haven't been doing many time lapses, because this camera's battery just sucks when it comes to trying to run a time lapse for an extended period of time. But I've got a GoPro on the way, so hopefully when that shows up I'll be able to take more time lapses to show what's actually going on. But not a big deal. Get this thing knocked out and on its way today. It's been a long week. I'm pretty tired. Life update. It is approximately, I think 1:45. Yeah, about 1:45 right now. I've washed it. I wiped down most of the metal, so it's just the raw metal. There's no rouge really stuck on anything. Dressed the tires, just still kind of settling down. But now I gotta wax the paint. I gotta go over it and wax it all. I'm thinking I'm gonna clay it, actually, just because there's lots of contaminants I found stuck on the paint. And I'll wax it after that. I kind of clean up the floors. Got to go over all the stainless or whatever with hand polish. I did everything with Vim and some fine steel wool, but didn't really fully take it all off. But I got the plates back on the back of the headlights, cleaned up the bumper. Kind of starting to all finally come together. Looks a lot better than it did this morning even, so I'm just gonna finish putting everything back together, like these lights. I'm gonna put all these pieces back together on the steps. And yeah, then I'll go from there, and I'll kind of keep you updated with the rest of the day. So this little update, it is currently 4:10. I'm set for a 5:30 pickup. This side's done. I got bead maker all over it. Tanks are all touched up, steps are all touched up, breathers are all touched up. I clayed the hood and the fenders as well as the glass, because there was a lot of bugs stuck on it. Got this bumper all shined up, nice and clean. Got rid of the bugs on the bumper. So now I just got breather, this side of the truck, and then all the aluminum on this side to touch up. And then once that's done, touch up the mats, clean up this insulator slash like grill protector kind of thingy, and then do the interior glass. And I think that's it. Almost there, but it's turning out pretty sweet. Can't wait to get this thing outside to see what it actually looks like. So done, minus a few lug caps I gotta put back on the wheels on the drives. But holy crap, I think it's it. That's it. That's hard to say, but that's it. Came out pretty slick. A lot of work, but that's okay. And reward, it's worth it. So I gotta clean up the shop before the customers get here. Oh, gotta do that back window. And yeah, and it's snowing outside, which kind of sucks. I was hoping I'd get some better weather for pictures, but ooh, that is insanely bright. There we go. So yeah, home stretch. what's up? Truck's gone. I didn't get as many final shots as I would have liked due to the fact that it's dark out already. It was 6 o'clock by the time the truck actually was outside, and 6 o'clock at this time of year, it's dark out. So I did get a couple shots I'll show in this video here, and I did get like a rolling shot of it going out the door, but fortunately didn't get quite the shots I wish I could have, but that's just the way it goes, and I can't really can't change the weather or tell them to pick it up. Hey, pick it up at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon specifically so I can get it the right right lighting and all that crap. So no, the customer came, picked it up, he's happy with it. I'm gonna show you the leftovers of having a truck polished in your shop, and yeah, I'm gonna clean this up tomorrow, but I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna enjoy not having to get up and polish the truck tomorrow. But I do have to go to Regina to get more polishing supplies for a truck next week, but this is it. So all of this fuzz that hasn't been washed down the drain from when I was washing is all still here. This floor is an absolute disaster, all this dirt. Yeah, it's kind of lame, but fortunately, that's just the name of the game. This is what I ended up using for sandpaper. All of this. That's all the sandpaper I used. Quite a bit. But yeah, like I said, it's home time. I can't wait to go home. Alright, well, hopefully this video kind of shows you what it takes to get a truck polished. It's not a really in-depth how-to, because if I was to break this into a how-to video, I could have been here for ages. It was already, I didn't even do the math, but I'm gonna guesstimate probably a 55-hour week, maybe a little bit more. I'll have to do the math when I get home, but yeah, the DIY videos, I'll link some in the bio of this video. I know some guys that have done some decent DIY videos on how to polish aluminum, but for now, like I said, I'm just gonna go home and enjoy not having to get up tomorrow morning to beat myself up. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later.